Hi everyone, I'm Dana with the Chamber, and I'm here with David Tubbs of Mere Social, who's here to speak on Social Media 201. This is another edition from his previous presentation. So Social Media 201, the how.
Hi everybody, Dave again. Welcome again to figure out actually how to start utilizing social media as opposed to figuring out the who, what, where, and why. So we're going to jump into just a little bit of elaboration and recap of what we talked about in the Social Media 101. So we want to focus on the importance of why. Why are you wanting to start utilizing social media? You got to figure out the reasons that you want to be on a certain network, what you hope to gain out of it besides, the basic, I want to grow my business or organization. And you want to figure out what type of personality works best for the different social networks that you're on. So because each network has its own type of personality. Some are visual, some are more text-based, some are a little bit more populous, and the advertising functions are a little bit different. Those are the types of personalities you have to figure out that work into your why. And then, of course, the importance of goal setting, setting the goals to make sure that you're able to be successful, so you have something to strive for on a regular basis, because if you don't have that, you're not going to be quite as effective as you would be if you have no plan, if you have nothing to strive for. It's better to have that goalpost at the end of the road to aim towards. So remember, type in any questions you might have as the presentation goes on, and I'll try and answer them as the presentation commences or at the end. So this webinar is going to cover the how. So we're going to cover these 6 topics. So composing effective messages, gaining followers, social advertising, harnessing the tools at your disposal that we've touched on in the Social Media 101 webinar, business development strategies, and then also the importance of content creation. Each one of these parts feed into the how to actually start utilizing social media. You can't just do any one of these or a couple. You have to try and take into consideration each one of these. You don't have to implement, say, a business development strategy necessarily, but you have to understand that you have to know how to compose effective messages, how to start gaining your followers, whether content creation is part of your overall plan, and this will feed into a strategy plan that you have created internally, or you might hire an outside consultant to help formulate that for you, because it can be hard to create a strong, well-rounded strategy without a vast amount of social media knowledge that can then integrate with what you're doing already. So let's start with composing effective messages. And just like every single network has its own different personality, the way you compose these messages or posts or tweets or whatever, they are going to be a little different. So Facebook, you're going to want to be more visual. You want to try to have some type of picture attached to it. So next to you see the picture in the slide, it shows a flyer attached with a link, attached with description, and it's tight. It's not that large, and this is meant to not bombard people with a lot of information, but pull people in with a photo. The visual pulls people in, and then the engaging part is asking questions, pushing people to like or share or comment on the post itself. This is the engaging factor when it comes to Facebook. And then the beauty of it all is to include a call to action. A lot of businesses, a lot of organizations that have solid Facebook pages don't end up actually utilizing the call to action part. So that's classic marketing right there, to ask for a call to action. You do want to build engagement first. You do want to build trust with your audience, but at the same time, eventually you need to call them to action, or you're not going to be able to profit or gain any strength from your social media platform unless you ask them to do something. So go read an article, go to this event that you're hosting, those types of calls to action. Now with Twitter, all Twitter users should go through a certain set of processes when jumping on. You want to listen first. You want to figure out what the protocols are for jumping into that type of community, because it is a little different, the way people talk, how effective a typed message can be, how do you attach links. But you need to listen first and figure out what type of audience you're already connecting with, how they're talking. Do they push more on interaction, or do they want information? But push comes to shove, your messages should be developing relationships. You can utilize Twitter as an information distribution source because it is a very, very strong way to disseminate information, and you're seeing a lot of the major news organizations start to leverage Twitter as that source. But you still need to develop relationships, whether it be a brand or an individual or even an insurance broker of some kind. Those types of people should be developing relationships first before trying to sell anything, especially on Twitter, because no one's going to listen to you if you don't already have a positive relationship built with that audience and that person. So we're going to jump into LinkedIn, and the one thing I can stress when it comes to composing messages for LinkedIn is to be authentic. Let people know why you're there, why you want to connect with everybody, and then actually compose messages. A lot of people just start adding colleagues or people that you've done business with, and then that's it, and they just leave them. You need to continue those relationships just as you would after an in-person networking event. And avoid default messages. Avoid the idea that you're going to add people and then they're going to get that default message of, I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn as a LinkedIn connection. You can't just do that. You have to give people context. You have to give people reasons to join in a conversation with you. And then also post updates. Post anything as you would on a Twitter account, but you need to make it interesting. You want to pass on interesting industry articles. It's, again, another great place to disseminate information as part of your company. But you want to post regularly to keep people interested in what you have to say. So you then become an authority on a particular topic, and then you can build engagement through that by having calls to action and engaging with other people, tagging other people in your posts, which is a very easy thing to do once you start to develop contacts. And finally, I'm going to touch on the final point I have on this slide, which is you need to analyze what successes have looked like. So you need to leverage metrics, personal experience. So once you figure out what has worked as far as a message is concerned, then you can actually start to perfect it down the road. A lot of people get hung up on creating a certain type of formula for all of their messaging, but then they never actually go back and check to make sure if it's successful or not. So did it get likes? Did it get retweeted? Did people favorite a post? Did people actually comment on a recent LinkedIn post that you had, but maybe not the one before it, and you can figure out why? There are so many analytics that these different social networks give you to be able to analyze these types of messages. Specifically, Facebook is very, very good at this. But you need to also have a personal goal to track this information. It's not going to do it by itself. And then finally, you need to adjust your messaging because of it. Take a little bit of time. Making those adjustments will be important in your long-term success. This isn't a flash-in-the-pan way to build your business. It's a way to consistently grow it on a regular basis moving forward. So again, let me know if you have any questions about composing messages, and come back to it later in the webinar. So next, it's gaining followers. People always want to know, how can I start getting 200, 300 Facebook likes? How can I start getting a following on Twitter or developing your connections on LinkedIn? Number one, I'm going to say you need to start with pushing it on your website. Put a regular icon of the social network on your website, just as Mere Social does in the top right-hand corner of every page we have, just to let people know that you're there. When you're first starting out, it's hard to tell people that you're on a social network on a regular basis. It's hard to just break it into a regular conversation. But, you know, on your business cards, if you're on Twitter, put your Twitter handle on there as well. But other ways are email newsletters, print materials that you have, blog posts on a regular basis to talk about what you're talking about online, existing partnerships that you have, and I got to stress this last one a lot. You need to follow other people, specifically with Twitter. My suggestion when you're jumping on Twitter for the first time is after you have your initial 20 followers that Twitter asks you to add, go find a friend or a competitor in your same industry or even another partnering company and find the people who they're following or the people that are following them, and then just go down that list and start to follow. That's a strategy to then show people you're interested in what they have to say. And it used to be Twitter protocol or that they would follow you back. That's not necessarily true now, but if they know who you are or roughly what you're about, as it's described in your Twitter biography, then they're going to follow you back. And this comes down to just letting people know that you're on there. You can't just assume that because you start these platforms, these channels, that people are going to just come and find you. You have to go out and search them just as a business development strategy would be anyways outside of digital advertising. And this comes to the idea that you need to give before you receive. You need to engage with people in a positive way, follow them, pass on their information, follow their pages on Facebook. If you have a Facebook page that you've created for your company, find other companies in the area that you partner with or that you know and follow their pages. You can do that. And then you can start to spread the information naturally that way, and it builds that type of community and trust and engagement that you need to build allies online as well to pass on your information. So next we're going to talk about social advertising, because it too is an avenue that you can use to build audiences, and especially at a low cost. Now, Twitter I'm going to start with because it's the most recent push in advertising, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. This is a great avenue to start developing initial followers. If you are hesitant in developing or spending the time to actually develop it naturally, it's pretty cost effective, and Twitter is going after small and medium-sized businesses now that they fully opened up their advertising. Because of their IPO that they put out last month, they're really starting to push monetization, because they right now currently are losing money on a quarterly basis. So now they're trying to actively get more businesses to advertise with them. And it is very low impact. It's as the example here, it's talking about something that you are doing. It doesn't have to be a giveaway like you see here, but it lets people know in a certain demographic and geographic area that you select that you're on Twitter, that you can start to develop those types of connections and then build off that after the fact. And LinkedIn advertising is, in my opinion, a little bit more expensive than all the other type of social advertising out there, and it's very, very strong for business-to-business opportunities. But overall, it's going to be a little different than Facebook and Twitter, because LinkedIn's monetization strategy is a little different than Facebook and Twitter. Facebook and Twitter, their monetization strategy is very, very strong on the advertising side, where LinkedIn has different revenue models. So they're pulling in people who have LinkedIn advanced accounts, so enterprise accounts, so they can go out and focus on business development more. Those features are really nice, but they are very expensive month to month, and that's where their revenue stream, another revenue stream, is coming through. So they're not putting as much focus on advertising, which means that while they give you strong analytics, it is still a little pricey. And it all comes down to testing what works, coming back to it, and seeing how you can make adjustments. The great thing, and I'll talk about this more on Facebook, is that social advertising is very cost effective. You will only have to pay maybe $20, $30 to do a test, as opposed to spending thousands on a traditional advertising route, whether it be newspaper, television, or radio, and then you don't know what the results are after the fact unless you ask the advertiser for more details on circulation rates on that particular day, or you set up protocols inside the advertising to see if anybody reacted to it. Now, I left Facebook last to talk about because it's still one of the most powerful ways of advertising because of the demographic information that they give you. Facebook gives you very, very detailed options on isolating a particular group of people and advertising right at them. The example I have on the page right now is the traditional right column advertising block, and these have been around for many years on Facebook, but the new ones that I don't have pictured is a newsfeed ad. Those are much bigger, they're focused more on the visual side, and everybody sees them even on your mobile phone because about half of all Facebook users are logging in on their phone, not on the computer, so these advertising spaces on your newsfeed are very important, and they're also very effective. And social advertising for Facebook is a little different in that you have multiple options. You can send people directly to your Facebook page itself, which Facebook likes because it keeps the user on Facebook itself, or you can send people to a particular link somewhere. And this type of option, these types of options also are amplified when you do A/B testing. When you are given the option to maybe use one photo for the first type of ad, and then a different photo for the exact same ad, and you run them concurrently to see which one garners more response and more engagement. And these can be done with the exact same way with sending people to your Facebook page or sending people to your website. These types of strategies help formulate what is successful. You can't go into social advertising with a blindfold on and hope that it works. It does take tweaking, but it is very effective at the exact same time because it's a great way to increase traffic to your website if you are looking to develop more eyeballs on your website, or you can direct people to your Facebook page to try and use your Facebook page as a retention tool on a regular basis, because Facebook pages are, in my opinion, for most brands, an excellent outlet for client and customer retention that you've had in the past as opposed to business development moving forward. I'm not saying they can't use Facebook pages for business development purposes, but it's a stronger retention tool because those people already know who you are and care about what you have to say. Now it's about actually trying to engage them more and bring them back. So next I'm going to talk about harnessing tools, because you want to be able to, one, track, and two, manage everything that you're doing a little more effectively. I touched on Hootsuite in the Social Media 101 webinar, and it's someone I personally use, but there is another option that is becoming more and more popular, which is Sprout Social. I would equate it to Hootsuite on steroids. It is a little more pricey. It's about 5 or 6 times more a month than Hootsuite, but it gives you a little bit more detail on analytics and customer tracking and prospecting if business development is a strong part of your social plan. I'm going to actually show you a little bit of what it looks like for Hootsuite. This is what Hootsuite looks like if you can see my screen, and it divvies it up between your different social platforms. You can add Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and about 15 or 20 other different types of social networks and websites such as Tumblr and WordPress, but I traditionally try to use it for Twitter because that's what it was created for. So you can have I have my personal account up here as a tab. I have the Chamber account as a tab, and then also Mir Social as well. And each is very unique. You can divvy it up based upon your home feed mentions, direct messages, and sent tweets. These are the defaults. So your home feed is everybody you're following. These are all their messages coming in, and it will update in real time every time you're mentioned, so it's easier to track. Your direct messages, so your private correspondence with people. And then also you can start to add more messages and more columns as you go down, farther down. So as you scroll to the right, you'll see I've set up custom streams here. So my tweets that have been retweeted, so I can track which has been the most popular. I track one of my Mir Social co-founders, Jeff Horst, and best of all, you can start to add more streams as well. So say I want to add another stream, and this is the biggest feature for me. You can start to actually search for keywords in a particular area. So say I wanted to track who is talking about social networks, and it'll add the stream, so it'll filter anybody who's mentioning social networks. And you can also geotag these based upon locations. So if you want to get into conversations that you didn't even know were happening, this is a way to start to do that. And it's just an easier way to manage a day-to-day activity. So you don't necessarily have to have 3 different Twitter accounts on here, but it just makes my life a lot easier being able to do it that way. And you can start to schedule tweets. I can't say I would suggest doing this on a lot. I tend to schedule maybe only 20% of my messages, mainly because things change. So if you have something scheduled and you're not in the office when it goes out, and it can look really, really bad on you. So it's best to make it easier on yourself by only scheduling a few posts, just so there's always content going out, but make sure that you can handle it. And there's a lot of different options to doing this. So say I'm just going to do a sample tweet here and I want to schedule it. You can do an auto scheduler, so it will optimize how many people will actually see that message, or you can do a traditional route and select date, time, and go from there. And then you can always monitor that in the publisher section here. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is the analytics that Hootsuite gives you. You can break it down by report. So Owly click summary, this is all of the custom messages, shortened links that I've put out that Hootsuite tracks. This type of information is great when you're trying to track some type of ROI, so you can see what messages have been clicked on, so you can adjust to see how you can improve things. Because you don't want to have to check something every single day. You want to look at the trends, and it's the same thing with this report. It can track trends based upon my follower growth, mentions, and also retweets. And these reports that I'm showing you now are actually complementary with your Hootsuite Pro account, which I believe now is $10 a month. So it's not breaking the bank, but it gives you a tool that is traditionally a lot more user-friendly than the Twitter interface. And the reason I would say staying away from it for Facebook or LinkedIn posts at the moment is because I have posted things on Twitter that look great and look perfect, but then when I try and do the exact same thing on a visual basis to Facebook, it doesn't come out right. It just doesn't post and reflect what I was hoping to post that I could have done directly on the Facebook page itself. So going back to the slides, sorry, I know it was really interactive there for a second. We're going to talk about business development strategies. So the number one thing you need to always keep top of mind when you're doing any type of social business development is that the key is to take the digital relationship that you've created and turn it into a real life engagement, coffee meeting, whatever you have. So a lot of different business development strategies differ based upon the social network. So I'm going to talk directly about the 3 main social networks. So for Facebook, you find a way to reward your followers. So who are those who actually come to the page on a regular basis? Or do you want to reward the people who are actually there? So if you're a brick and mortar retailer, like say a bakery, and you want to reward your followers, let them know when you have a great new recipe coming out. You tell them first, and then they'll tell other people, and then they'll hopefully come in. And then also try advertising. Try, throw a small $20, $30 campaign and see if it brings feet in the door, and then test and see if it brings more engagement, at least on your page itself, that will then lead to more business down the road. For Twitter, it's a lot more relationship-based. I've seen so many business development strategies that are starting to rely upon automatically direct messaging people right after they start following you. Don't do that. Don't do anything automated in that way. If somebody follows you and you really want to show that you care, just say thank you for following me. You don't have to do any auto DMs, because I don't know about you, anytime I've received any of these auto direct messages and then they're trying to push me to their Facebook page, I automatically unfollow them and then delete the message. It's so frustrating because I did not opt into that message. I did not give them permission to give me those types of posts, and it frustrates me when they think that that's going to be effective, because that just gives social advertising social marketing a bad name. And like I said, it's about building relationships. It's about building a bridge that is the trust gap. Trust is what's built through these social networks. They get to know you. They get to know your company. They get to know your brand a lot more online than they would have ever been able to in a printed advertisement. And this is the way it is. It's a two-way communication. You can't just push out information at people. You have to have conversations. You have to develop a rapport before you're able to take that digital relationship from, say, Twitter to real life. And there is no magic formula. There is no, I touch base with someone 6 times over Twitter, then I'm going to ask them for a coffee meeting. No, use your best judgment on whether that relationship is actually something that can be taken offline. And that's when your own judgment comes into play. Everybody would like to have some type of formula, but it's just not there, because some people will react differently. Some people will love to have coffee with you and get to know you a little better, hear what you have to say. Others just aren't interested. They're happy to just communicate with you online. But this is just a strategy to take that relationship offline. So develop that relationship and then move forward with it. And LinkedIn still remains the least utilized business development social network, even though it is the only professionally focused social network. People don't utilize the search function to get to know new people, to utilize their broad connection relationships that they already have to facilitate more. So start using the search function. If you want to target a specific business or industry, find the search tool on LinkedIn. It's very easy to find at the very top of every page. Search the company. So say you wanted to find somebody at BlackBerry, so you type in BlackBerry under the company, and it will show you all of your connections that might be related to, might be connected already to the people that you might want to reach at BlackBerry. And you can narrow this down by job title, description, and experience, so you can start to pinpoint people just as you would with social advertising. But this is much more calculated. The sales funnel, the funnel in general is a little bit longer, but it should be. It's not going to be easy, but you're building relationships. You're not prospecting by cold calling. You're utilizing existing relationships to grow your existing contact list. And another utilized function is the recommendations. People love getting recommendations, and it's a function of LinkedIn to give credibility to people. So if you say you've had I had a furnace put in about 3 months ago, and I loved the service. It was perfect. So I gave the person who sold it to me a LinkedIn recommendation, and he really enjoyed it. And it makes people's day. If you haven't connected with somebody in a while and you want to reconnect with them, this is a great way to do it. But make sure they're real. Give real recommendations, not just a fluff recommendation that you're hoping that they'll reciprocate it or hope that they'll just contact you out of the blue afterwards. It has to be real, and it has to be genuine. And this comes down to leveraging also existing contacts. Leverage the contacts you have at your disposal. Every person that is on LinkedIn has a connection degree. So you're either a first degree connection, which means you're already connected, a second degree connection, which means you're connected to somebody already, that potential connection is already part of their circle, or third degree connections where there's 2 people removed from you and that person. I know it's a little like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, but this is what's great about LinkedIn is it actually lays out who you might be connected to in a one-step way. So if, say you want to reach a purchasing VP at a particular company, you find out that you're a second-degree connection with them. You find the person that connects the two of you, or it could be multiple people, and ask for an e-introduction. But state up front why you're wanting to connect. You don't want to coyly connect and hope they say yes and then come and try and sell them afterwards. Be upfront. It's about touch points right now when it comes to social business development on LinkedIn. And finally, post. Post something. Give yourself a chance to actually show you know what you're talking about. So post interesting industry information, anything that's going on personally. So maybe you wrote a great blog post and you want to talk about it, post it. This will show that it'll allow you to be top of mind for other people on a regular basis. And this is where it shows that you know what you're talking about. And it builds trust. And like I said before, it's all about building trust to take that online relationship and taking it offline. So just have a question here. So just wanting a clarification on what the difference is between a LinkedIn recommendation and an endorsement. Now, LinkedIn recommendation, they've always been around. It's a written recommendation that you would give to somebody you've done business with or a colleague, where endorsements are based upon your skill set that you have listed. And endorsements are something that LinkedIn is trying to almost force you to do now. There's so many pop-ups that happen when you log into LinkedIn now that they want you to give an endorsement for Susie's blog writing skills. And this is a way to increase engagement on the website, will then keep people there and increase advertising and make it more worthwhile. The problem with that is if your endorsements are great to give, they really are, but it's too low of an option to connect with somebody. If you're really going to endorse somebody, you might as well write them a recommendation that means something to them. And I've gotten hundreds of endorsements from people I don't even know, who I've just connected with, and I find what they have to say interesting, but then they endorse me, and I don't know if they actually know that about my content writing skills. I don't know if they've ever read anything, but if they said that in a recommendation, it would mean something. So if for a strategy for recommendations, take every Friday afternoon, maybe when you're trying to decompress from the week, write a recommendation for someone. Make a schedule out of it so it's a little bit more manageable. But like I said, recommendations are almost like references, where endorsements are just like a check mark on somebody's skills that they've already listed or somebody has added to their profile. I hope that answered the question. And finally, we're going to talk about content creation, which is the backbone of actually utilizing social media, because you're always going to be constantly creating content, whether it be posts or photos that you post from an event that you might be at. So leverage photos, leverage video, leverage these types of visual mediums, because people will start to interact with them a little bit more. Even on Twitter, people interact with photos, and it makes it a little bit more personal. It knocks down barriers that would have normally existed. And photos and video are just the next medium to keep people's attentions a little bit more. And it gives them an incentive to keep following you if they know you're going to be posting interesting things. And this comes back to blogs. If your website doesn't have a blog, just for search engine optimization reasons, I would suggest you get one and then find time to update it. It's great to post internal information that is that your audience will find interesting, because then it shows your authority on the subject and keeps people interested in what you're talking about. But it doesn't have to be all your information, it doesn't have to be all custom. It can be industry articles or something interesting in the newspaper, or another company is talking about or posting as well. It's about constantly feeding information to people, because that's what people are utilizing sources like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn for, is information accessibility and distribution. And there's no reason why you can't do that either. And when push comes to shove, you want to be talking about other people. You want to be talking about other companies, other industries, something that isn't just about yourself. It's not about you all the time. So if your company is doing some great charity work for, say, United Way or Habitat for Humanity or something like that, talk about it, because that organization will love that you're talking about them. And then also it does look good on the company as well, and it's something to talk about. So if you're going to do these charity pieces or initiatives, regardless of whether you're going to promote them or not, you might as well talk about it, because it'll show that your company believes in this particular initiative and you think other people should probably pay attention and do it as well. It's a win-win for everybody, and it's an excellent avenue to take when creating content, because then it's not just about making money or closing the deal. It's about spreading good and positive energy out there when social networks can be filled at times with a lot of negativity. You want to be known as somebody who is a beacon of positive attitudes. So unless you guys have any questions, I'll wait another minute or so, but that is the how on social media. It's a very diverse subject because there are so many different ways to create things and build audiences on social networks, because each network is different. So feel free to tweet at me any questions or emails or anything, and I'd be happy to get back to you. So, we got a question real quick, sorry. So it's about Hootsuite. Hootsuite is a little complex when you're jumping into it. There are videos within Hootsuite to learn how to use it. On Mere Social, we do have a tutorial on setting up your account for the first time, how to actually write in messages and posts, and how to manage things. Once you get the hang of it, it is pretty easy to use. But there are resources provided on Hootsuite itself once you sign up, because they want to make sure that you know how to use it properly. It's the hardest part, honestly, if I'm going to say it, is developing your analytic tools to make sure that they're tracking properly. Adding new networks and streams are pretty straightforward once you get a handle for the interface itself. So I guess if there are no more questions right now, well, thanks for listening to me again. And I guess I'll see you in 2 weeks for Social Media 301.